Taoiseach, last night on the Claire Byrne show, a whistleblower gave her account of how she believed an intellectually disabled child called Grace was left in a foster home where she was constantly and consistently abused and left there until 2009. We know that this foster home or household to which children were sent for summer respite services was doing that from 1983 to about 1996 when it ceased taking new placements. But that Grace would have been left there until 2009, and another person, Anne, left there until 2013. The abuse that has been described is quite shocking. I think would shock any person, genuinely. And it's incomprehensible that a child could be left so long in such a dangerous household. And I've been watching the Public Accounts Committee this morning and the various questioning to and fro. But I think the first point I would make is that, and the whistleblowers are clear, that serious abuse was perpetrated on those children in the 90s, and that for some reason or another, even though, if I understand correctly, files were sent to the DPP, no prosecutions took place. And therefore, I think the first question I'd ask you is, there may be mechanisms now whereby the DPP's office could be asked to give a report explaining why these cases did not materialise in any prosecutions or the files that were sent. I understand from one report this morning about 5 files were sent to the DPP over that particular period in time. And the second point I would make, Taoiseach, is that given that there's about 47 children or adults involved in this scandal, they were placed there by the Health Board, South Eastern Health Board, by the Brothers of Charity, and indeed by private families. And the government has indicated, and the Minister, that they're to recommend a commission of investigation into this entire scandal. The point I would make, Taoiseach, I would ask you if you've taken legal advice, and are you satisfied that a commission of investigation can run parallel to the Garda investigation that's currently underway in terms of reckless endangerment by officials? Because in the Public Accounts Committee it's very clear that the HSE are saying they can't publish the Divine and Resilience reports because of that same Garda inquiry. And the point I would make to you, Taoiseach, is that we do need to be clear in the House that there is a robust mechanism available to have a comprehensive inquiry into this, not just on the health side, but I would suggest also the criminal justice side. And given the experience of SideServe and given the experience of even the banking inquiry, is the Commission of Investigation route, does it have the capacity to actually conduct a comprehensive inquiry of the type that is absolutely required to deal with this horrendous story?
Thank you.
And finally, Taoiseach, in terms of any civil cases that may arise, my understanding is the state is not going to defend them. Has the government given any consideration to a redress scheme or some system of compensation for the families involved? Because the bottom line is 47 children and adults were left in a home, very vulnerable adults with intellectual disabilities, were left in a home that many people had huge issues about, and that the whistleblowers are clear there was serious abuse carried out on a number of the children that were in that home.
Sure. I thank Deputy Martin for raising what is another serious legacy issue that does no reflection upon this nation, upon the institutions involved here, and particularly because of the case of the person known as Grace, who, because of her condition, was silent, but because of by her treatment and by her abandonment, was silenced. Now, I think it's important that to understand that there are a great deal of allegations made surrounding this and other issues in regard to this particular premises. Clearly, the safety and the protection of vulnerable people has to be of paramount importance to the state. It's not that the system has failed; it's that the people in charge of the system have not measured up. Clearly, you point out a number of important issues here. The specific case is complicated by the fact that there is an ongoing Garda investigation going on here in County, which has precluded the HSE from publishing two separate reports. They're the Devine report and the Resilience Ireland report into the matter, pending completion by Garda of Garda inquiries. And obviously, we need to be very focused and precise about the questions that need to be followed through on here. As I understand it, it is possible for a commission of investigation to proceed parallel to the Garda inquiry, though it might mean that when the commission report be completed, that it might not be able to be published in full, pending elements of whatever might emerge from that Garda inquiry. Can I confirm to you, Deputy Martin, that the Government today discussed this matter and had briefings both from Minister Varadkar and the Minister of State, Minister Lynch, and agreed on the establishment of a statutory commission of investigation subject to terms of reference and approval by the Oireachtas, and that will be the next Oireachtas, whoever the people elect. The work that is underway, which was commissioned by Minister Lynch with Minister Conor Dignam, Senior Counsel, that will be expected to form part of the drafting of the terms of reference for a commission of investigation. And additional resources have been made available for the Senior Counsel to allow him to accelerate the completion of his report, now due by the end of April. I might say that both Ministers Varadkar and Minister Lynch have requested copies of both the Devine report and the Resilience Ireland report from the HSE under Section 40C of the Health Act of 2004.
Thank you.
Both ministers believe that direct access to these reports will assist their understanding of the relevant facts that are needed about these very disturbing allegations that have been made. And as you're aware, officials from HSE have been engaged with the Public Accounts Committee at the moment. And it speaks for itself that it's a committee of this House dealing with monetary matters that has brought this to light here at County.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, thank you, Taoiseach, for your reply. But the core point I'm making is in terms of the capacity of a commission of investigation to actually credibly carry out its work while the Garda investigation is underway. I mean, presumably a presiding judge may be very wary of undermining the Garda inquiry. This is the very basis on which the HSE officials inside in public accounts are saying they can't publish the Devine report, they can't publish the Resilience report, much as they would like to, because of endangering the criminal inquiry. So, have you got strong and robust legal advice from the Attorney-General to say that a commission of investigation can actually conduct an inquiry? You've confirmed that it cannot publish the inquiry until after the Garda investigation is complete. But can it actually conduct an inquiry? For example, the witnesses to such an inquiry may very well plead that they're involved in a criminal case and that there could be, being questioned by the Gardaí and so on. Will they be under an obligation to, in a parallel mechanism, give evidence to the judge? I think it's a serious issue in itself, Taoiseach, because the robustness of the Commission Investigation Act has been called into question because of the site survey experience. Likewise, we had another experience in a separate inquiry in terms of the banking inquiry, where banking officials couldn't be brought forward because of criminal proceedings in the courts. So I think we have to be very clear and honest about what are the prospects in relation to that. And if you have the legal advice in relation to that, could you share the outline of that with us? And finally, will the ministers come before the Dáil to answer questions in relation to this, Taoiseach, of deputies who may want to answer or ask questions? It's normally would have been the case in a controversy of this magnitude and scale that ministers would come before either the Health Committee or before the plenary session of the Dáil on a special notice arrangement to answer questions. I think that would be fitting and appropriate in a case like this.
Yes. Well, the Minister, I think, is on topical issues on that, on Minister Lynch. I don't think the Minister had any difficulty in dealing with this. I would say that it obviously this goes back over quite a long number of years, and clearly a deal of correspondence about it. The precedent here, Deputy Martin, is the Ryan report into institutional abuse. And as I say, while it may not be possible to publish all of the report pending the outcome of Garda inquiries. That's a precedent that stands up, where the Commission was able to do its business and all that. I just think that, given the nature and the scale of allegations of abuse, which appear to be horrendous in this particular case, I think the decision by government to have a commission of investigation, to allow Senior Counsel Dignam complete his work as a scoping exercise for the drafting of appropriate terms of reference, the Resilience Ireland report and the Devine report obviously will form the basis of what needs to be put in place here, focusing on the precise and individual questions. Why was it that the home in question was to be cleared of all foster children, and yet a decision was made that not be so? It's important to note that most of the children who attended here were there for respite purposes for a week or for a short period, and that it's been quite a number of years since any public placement by the state involved in this. The Minister tells me that the topical issue in both the Shannon and the Dáil today are on this matter. And I suppose people will have the right to ask questions there. And Minister Lynch is actually in the Shannon at the moment, Deputy. The HSE are answering questions, I understand, in the PSC at the moment. To finally answer your question, there wasn't any discussion this morning about a redress scheme here. I think it's important that we focus on completing the work of Dignam, the publication and the addressing of the issues in the Resilience and Devine reports, so that when the Department come to draft the terms of reference for the Commission of Investigation, that they be appropriate and that they be focused very precisely on what needs to be dealt with here at County Court.